That was really tough because we had to let go parts of our family. We got in trouble for being a bit bold on some of our science claims.
What has been the cost for you with that little mistake?
Having to explain the very nuanced situation to shareholders. Watching yourself on TV get smeared and then your wife and your son are there looking at you on TV.
Do you think you've gotten over that as a founder? The blip that happened?
Angus Brown, Kiwi co-founder of a brain drink known to be used by big names like Stephen Adams and astronauts, Arepa was awarded the fastest food and beverage business growth by Deloitte.
We've landed on is the world's first plant food MAO inhibitor. Revenue grew up to about 10 million.
What do you think you got right early that most founders would get wrong?
My advice to founders would be...
Who's the most famous person that's using your product right now?
Most famous person. I probably don't know the ultimate most famous person.
Do they not take you or say thanks or cool product? Or?
No, we don't get too much of that. But I mean, we've had to ship product to Taika Waititi, the movie director. To support his brain while he's, directing and filming.
Yeah.
We ship products to Stephen Adams, who's one of our investors and obviously plays in the NBA. Awesome. We have had Larry Page, the founder of Google, buy it for his super yacht. And there's a whole bunch of other, ABC celebrities that have used it over the years. And they're all really interesting anecdotes, and some of them reach out directly, and we have to, spend a crazy amount of time and effort trying to ship them, particular stock, or they just happen to be shopping at the local New World when they're on holiday in Queenstown and pick it up and try it and love it. So it's a pretty awesome thing to happen, and sometimes you feel as though there's this 1 degree of separation between you and some of the stars of Hollywood. We still seem to have a bit of a kind of a humble approach to doing things, and just one thing at a time, and focus on what's really important, which to us is this kind of discovery and some of the science that we're embarking on right now.
So you have had a massive journey since 2012 to 2025, 26. So you have you've worked so hard to make this brand the brand that is today alongside your team, and it's grown really fast, and it had its really big, very public challenges, and we will get into that. And now you are, it's 2026. This is a fresh new year. There's a lot of new things happening on the horizon for you. And the entrepreneur of the day in New Zealand would want to know so much about you and about how you did it and the thinking behind it, because a lot of people are inspired by your story and they want to, learn from you. So let's go to the rise of the. Take me back to the rise and when you first started. I know that you've talked about this in number of interviews, but some people don't know it. And then we'll get into the other bits.
Cool. Started this business with university friend Zach Robinson in 2012. At that time, I was fortunate enough to be working for New Zealand Food Innovation, which is kind of under Callaghan Innovation, and I was stationed at the Food Bowl, which is a $30 million modular food factory. Really awesome place, globally quite impressive, spent kind of 6 years there learning the craft of, say, food tech and the intersection of commercialization. And then tinkered away on this concept in my own spare time, and then we kind of launched the formula and the drink into Farrows in 2017, I think. And then from there, we seem to expand reasonably well across most major supermarkets and petrol stations in New Zealand and Australia. And yeah, every year we doubled revenue year on year for I think like 4 or 5 consecutive years. And probably at the peak of our original beverage business was 2023, I think. And yeah, we got the fastest food and beverage business growth by Deloitte, and I'd won the Entrepreneur of the Year for product, and we're in probably about 4,000 doors at that stage, or 4,000 retailers across Australasia. And yeah, we were growing really, really fast, and we'd built a team, and yeah, there was still, we were still investing heavily in research, and we were starting to scratch at the surface of this new molecule discovery that we have that's going to power our business into the future. And so, we still weren't quite profitable over those years, but yeah, revenue grew up to about 10 million and kind of more than doubled every year. And so that was cool. We probably raised, we probably raised about 8 million, maybe just under, over the course of the last 10 years in kind of like smaller rounds. And probably my first advice to founders would be to raise a lot more than you think, and try and raise the money to get yourself over that big hurdle that you don't raise the small amount you need to just get by. Raise enough so that you can really get over those breakthrough hurdles that you're targeting. And for us, probably we just raised a little bit too little every time, and then had to keep going back out. And so, we were getting lots of inquiries of like where's stock internationally. We expanded into Singapore, Hong Kong, and then we I guess got in trouble for being a bit bold on some of our science claims in the food space. I think if we were looking back, we probably should have commercialized this thing as more of a dietary supplement, and then we would have never got in trouble. But in the food space, there's a higher level of rigor required to make health claims. And so we kind of learnt the hard way there. We were being very true to the science, but we just hadn't formatted it through the regulatory approved dossier framework that you need to do for the beverages. So we got a bit of a wrap around the wrist from the regulator on that front. But the thing that I guess stung us in that media moment, and this was as I'd won the product category for EY Entrepreneur of the Year, we had this big media storm come out to say that we were unsubstantiated and we were misleading consumers. And so that was really tough pill to swallow, because the regulator was leading that charge, and so we didn't know how to fight back because we were worried about our product getting pulled off the shelves. And the problem with the whole issue was that the media had utilised an old scientist of ours that we had paid to do some initial research for us on a different formula that didn't contain our molecule that we've discovered in the blackcurrant that we use, and it didn't show anything in his study. And then he wasn't quite aware of the research that we were publishing out of University of Auckland and Plant and Food on that formula, and probably gave us quite a harsh critique on, as being the neuroscience expert, interviewed by the media, what do you think of this product? He probably gave us probably a poor scorecard, and then we had to reach out to him directly after that to say, hey, are you aware of the science that's about to get published at the University of Auckland on the drink? And are you aware of what's actually in it and how we're going about doing our research now? And he wasn't, and he backtracked some of his statements and agreed that there was significant findings in our research on the drink. So there was some science there. And, we're still one of the only clinically researched products that you can pick up on the supermarket shelves in New Zealand. And he went out and backtracked some of those statements like 10 days later on Radio New Zealand, but the mass media didn't catch much of that, and they caught the One News headlines and the breakfast headlines on that day. So we had this like public sting and this credibility hit that we had to, I guess, repair over the next year. So yeah, we, since that sting, which probably lost us, I'd say, like probably a couple of million in terms of top line revenue, and then just having to fight back credibility to your suppliers and your customers and your consumers. But it was a really tough position for our team, because our team were very aware of the science that we had completed and was moving through publication, and knew truly what was going on with what we were in trouble for, which was saying a lot of the stuff on our key ingredients that is published evidence on our key ingredients, but they are, if we talk about the published evidence on the key ingredients in a food context, that's considered a health claim. So you have to take the global evidence summary of each ingredient and put it through a big dossier and do a meta-analysis or a systematic review of all the science and the weighting of all the science. And if it's still strong enough, then you can talk about those benefits subject to that dossier being reviewed by the regulator, MPI. So we're now year 2 into submitting our homework, and we're hoping to get a response back from them based on that, and then in theory we should be able to continue on saying the things that we were saying, which we got in trouble for. But since 2003, we've published 2 or 3 more studies, I think 3 now, either on our formula or on this neuroberry that we are really fascinated about. It's particular varieties of blackcurrant that have a really high expression of a molecule that we've discovered. And then, went back out to market with some new products with regulatory approved health claims, and have just expanded our range a bit and focused on what consumers are interested in, maintaining what we do in the brain health space and just going a bit broader, because at the moment, when we had the first big challenge, we were only really one single product, and so we've created more products now, still leveraging the science, and have got more of a diverse offering for a wider consumer base. The second challenge that happened kind of like 6 months after getting a media attack was we had a product recall, and so our number one revenue generating beverage, the one that we do all the research on, the manufacturer had a problem with the capper, and some glass was found in some bottles, and it might have been because of our fame or just because of how far distributed the product was. When we alerted MPI to this pending product recall, MPI then alerted media, and then media let everyone know that to not drink this particular product because there was glass found in there. We won some credibility back with MPI with how we handled that, but we still lost, hundreds of thousands of dollars of revenue.
Why was there glass in that bottle?
The machine capping solution, how it was being capped on the bottle, was coming down too hard and too aggressively, and it was kind of little small sand shards were dropping in from how aggressively the cap was getting put on, and it took quite a lot of forensic work to figure out where the problem was within the line and how to fix it. So it was no one's fault. It wasn't our fault. It wasn't our manufacturer's fault, but it was just a problem that occurs. And these things happen, especially in food manufacturing, where things can go off and you're giving a product to consumers to ingest. Food manufacturing can go wrong, and suddenly you have to, throw out container loads of ketchup or mayonnaise or jams, or And so we'd made, I think we'd done 10 million bottles to date, and then we had our first product recall. So not a bad run, making something at scale. And then. We've had to. We were at our peak from a staff perspective. 23 people, full-time employees. But now we're in this new world, and kind of a really economic, challenging time, and we're now focusing on a lot of the food tech plays. We're all about kind of growth, revenue. deep science and just growing as much as possible, and then figuring out how to make profit at some point. And a lot of companies still aren't quite profitable, even the bigger end of town, the famous food tech companies that you hear about. And so we've since the media attack and the product recall, we've gone pretty hard towards ensuring that our business can be break-even profitable, while we still are investing heavily in this science discovery on this new molecule that we've found and really excited about. So we have two businesses now. We have a consumer products science business that's backed by our research and our patented formula and our kind of unique ingredients that's commercialized into a range of beverages and supplements. And then we have our molecule business, which will be a future ingredient business. And so, we are now down to 6 staff, and we run a pretty lean team. We have licensed the beverage product business for New Zealand and Australia to a larger family-owned manufacturing business. So now we're in a joint venture with our beverage for the New Zealand and Australian market. And so they take care of the manufacturing, sales and marketing of our drinks platform. And then we provide the IP and the brand and the formulation guidance and the PR and stuff like that. And we have a kind of a joint venture with the beverage business. And then we run our supplement business ourselves online across Australasia and export that to places like Hong Kong and South Korea. And then the other side of our business is this molecule discovery and turning that into a future nutraceutical ingredient business.
Cool. What a great introduction. It's quite a comprehensive, and it's I have trillions of questions for you, but to be exact, there's about 68.
Well, let's get started then.
We've got
away.
We've got half an hour. But as a business, what do you think actually drove your rise? Like, we talk about some businesses having moats.
Yep.
What's your moat?
We have a patent-protected formula. We do research on the branded formula. So we have unique research that's custom to us, and we have a patent that protects that combination and the use that it's in. And then we worked at like supply chain, integrating with the supply chain. So 2 of those 3 ingredients in our complex formula, we have investment from suppliers that supply those ingredients to us, blackcurrant farmers and pine bark extract companies. So we have kind of a supply chain advantage. We have a intellectual property advantage. We have a published science advantage. A lot of supplement companies kind of leverage off, say, commodity science that everyone else can leverage off, but no one can kind of use our science to say this thing works without infringing. And then I think the thing that's got us to where we're at now is we think we've made a good product, and the measure of that good product is, one, statistically significant findings in human clinical research. So we know that like there's science in there and it actually works. But 2, does the consumer like it, and are they coming back to buy it? And 3, how are you going from a sales perspective in the category that you're trying to trade in?
It's quite a lot to think about.
A lot to think about, yep.
It's really complicated for a business. Like, if you're thinking about how can I lead a good life with legacy, how about starting a product like Arepa? It's a lot of work.
Yep.
It's a lot of work.
Yep. Rome wasn't built in a day. But we've had some really good investors, some really good guidance, and we've been doing this since I've been doing this since 2012, and still passionately interested about the space that we're in, and incredibly excited about where we are hoping to go. I think so. If it's a good product, the product is always going to sell well, and then if you can work hard on the sales and distribution of that product, the protection of that product, and then the marketing and PR of that product, then you can have a successful business no matter what you're making or selling.
What about the thinking around? Obviously, the backstory to that is the reason why you started this business in the first place.
Yep.
I understand it's been well documented, but just a brief insight into that as to why do you even do this every day? Like, what's the motivating factor, the original story behind it?
Yeah, so the founder story, which is utilised in our marketing and PR, which I think helped cut through in the earlier years with, say, media, earned media, I lost a friend to suicide at high school, lost grandparents to brain-related illness, went through university, coming out the other end realising, what you put into yourself is what you get out from a cognitive and general health perspective. So you can't, run on 2-minute noodles and toast and get a fully working brain. And then my first job after uni was selling energy drinks, and it just didn't agree with me flogging sugar and caffeine to the masses. And then I started to think, why can't we make something that's actually good for your brain, can help your brain perform under pressure and stress, but be not a stimulant or not be such an anti-stress thing that it made you drowsy. So what's the perfect brain drink basically, and can we prove that it works the first time, and can we prove that this thing, if you consume daily, helps your brain in the long run? And so we've published, I think, 6 studies now on the patented formula in total, showing different effects.
You've got 2 formulas, right?
We have one, say, let's call it patented formula, and then we have 12 products that we sell online that leverage that science, or some of that science, or now none of that science, and we're just creating really great formulations using other unique ingredients, selling into spaces that our core formulation doesn't, like sleep, for example. And so the founder story for us is, and the mission, that the reason why we exist, because we wanted to do something like good for this planet, and then if I was to look back when I'm 80 or 100 and like what I do with my life, I didn't want that to be flogging something I didn't believe in that had no nutritional or mental positive impact on consumers. And so that was the mission, and we thought, let's see whether we can do it. And
what made you think you can do it?
It was just a hunch, like seeing like nutraceuticals, there was evidence around certain bioactives showing different things. And then probably the thing that gave us the most belief was when we approached one of the world's top psychopharmacologists, so a neuroscientist that looks at the pharmacology, psychopharmacology of this one in particular on botanicals. Speaking to him, he was showing us compounds that had really robust evidence. And then when we tested one of his formulas, which included this unique blackcurrant, a lot of consumers that we were blind testing it on versus placebo, just rough and ready trials, were just going, I can seriously feel this thing. And a lot of our investors can feel it as well. So that gave us belief that we were onto something, and then it was just a matter of how do we design a trial that's appropriate for this product to be sensitive to pick up the differences versus a taste match placebo, because it's very hard to create a felt effect with something that isn't caffeine, that's within the food kingdom, that's you don't have to eat like a kilo of omega-3 oil or dark chocolate to get an effect. You can have a tasty beverage or a capsule and feel something. But we found a combination of these ingredients suggested by a scientist, and the rest is history. And so our company purpose is to make brains work better, and we believe that a better life starts with a better brain. And the goal now of the company is to create 1 billion better brain days for the world by 2030. So that's the big, ugly, hairy goal. And we treat a better brain day, as someone who's consumed some of our researched formula, which we know gives a better gives your brain better performance.
All right, you guys, I want to tell you about one resource that I look into and check all the time. It's helped me in my own business journey, and it's made me a better business owner, a better podcaster, helped me stay on top of all the business news that are happening in New Zealand. It's called NZ Business Magazine. It's one of the New Zealand's oldest and most trusted sources for business stories, insights, and analysis for SME owners and leaders. So we've partnered together to help bring these kind of conversations like this one to more Kiwi entrepreneurs across New Zealand. So if you want to stay on top of what's happening in business, visit nzbusiness.co.nz today. Hello, thanks for watching this video. Quick note, have you subscribed? Over 90% of people who are watching on YouTube or listening on Spotify or on Apple are not subscribed or following. Please do so now. It's so simple. The button will be around the screen somewhere. You either hit subscribe or hit the follow button or leave me a review. It will help me so much, helps me grow as a channel and support my work. So I really appreciate it. Okay, back to the episode. Does it seem like your positioning is really interesting. You're not here to create a drink. You're a performance thinker, not like I'm just going to make a drink. You are thinking about how do humans think better under pressure. Is that right?
Yeah, think better under pressure, but just so we want to improve all brains for all types of occasions. So when we first made the drink, it was let's make the anti-energy drink and let's put so much science in it that it's undisputable and make it so good for you that it's just a far simpler choice to make. And still can't quite get there on price because caffeine and sugar is pretty cheap. But and so when we developed this first drink, the archetypes were, or the consumers were, stressed students for exams, busy corporate professionals, wired and tired new parents, seniors,
quite a variety of people.
A variety of could we help their brain perform better?
And when you were at the time, were you wanting to? How were you thinking about your ideal customer profile?
Anyone with a brain that wants it to work better. Right. So quite broad.
Quite broad, yeah.
And then when you look at our, if you were to get kind of consumer data from our sales and say Woolworths, there's not one particular age or sex that really dominate our consumer base. It's a very broad and even blend between young and old, male and female. And it shows you that everyone has a different brain and everyone has different brain stressors. So it started with performance, but now our range of products is going into more categories like the gut-brain axis or the brain-gut axis, sleep, energy, all related with the brain, but all kind of starting to consider and factor other people's interests and needs and demands. And we're doing research in those areas to understand where does our formula best sit, where is this new molecule best placed to offer an effect, and what markets should we go after with this molecule. Yeah.
So, but your background is not really pharmaceuticals, is it? Or science? No,
I have a finance and accounting degree. Yeah. If I had my time again, I'd probably do food technology, I'd say, in business. But my dad calls it, he was a headmaster for 20 years, he calls it qualified by experience. And I kind of mucked around at university, got the degree, can't really remember too much about what the degree was, but as soon as I started working in the world of fast-moving consumer goods and beverages, I found a space that was really dynamic and interesting, had a good mix of business, commerce, marketing, sales, from the selling side, but then also with food products and functional food products and supplements, there's a science element to it and a research element and a technology element. And when I was working for New Zealand Food Innovation, I was helping companies. I was the business development manager there, so I would sell the companies on the dream of using the facility, and then the engineers downstairs would be like, "You promised what? Like we can't do that." And but we learned over time what was possible, what was not, and then we saw small startups and also very large corporates use the facility to make their new products, and then you could see those what the key criteria was to successfully commercialize a product from benchtop to scale up. And there's a lot of nuances in food, and there were a lot of failures, and then there were a lot of success stories.
Yeah, because you were trying to solve a problem back in the day. Is that the same problem now, or has your problem-solving direction shifted a little bit?
I think it's all the same space. So it's better for you, cognition based products and ingredients. Like everyone needs a brain to work, to function. And we're always going to need nutrition to support our brains. I don't think we're just going to take this single pill or have an AI solution to it. So we know that it's going to be an evergreen market. We could see the trends of the rise of ADHD diagnoses, the rates of Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, depression, and so very, very large addressable markets, only catered to by either barely working functional foods, sometimes working supplements. Some of them are effective, some of them you need to consume for multiple weeks to get any benefit. Some are just, you're better off spending your money elsewhere.
How quick can I feel the effect with Arepa? Or does it depend on who is consuming?
So with Arepa Performance, the full flavour blackcurrant one, we believe that within 20 minutes, the neurotransmitters in your brain will have less oxidative breakdown. And so within about 20 minutes, you should feel something, but we know that the more stressed or the more under pressure or fatigue you are, the more pronounced the effects are usually. But we've come to learn from our consumer base that if someone has high amounts of this neurotransmitter oxidation, our effects can be more prominent a lot faster.
Could you, in simple terms, explain what that means?
Yeah, so this exciting molecule in this discovery and kind of the most unique mechanism that our products have and the IP that we have on this new molecule is what's called MAO inhibitor. And so
what does that stand for?
Monoamine oxidase. So MAO. So think of an MAO enzyme as a Pac-Man enzyme that runs around your brain and eats up your precious neurotransmitters responsible for mood, mental performance, cognition, attention, sleep. And as we age, or as people have different cognitive concerns like depression, Parkinson's, Alzheimer's, Huntington's, sleep deprivation, menopause, you see a common biomarker where they have higher amounts of this Pac-Man enzyme eating up and oxidizing their precious neurotransmitters. And there's a class of pharmaceuticals called MAO inhibitors. So they inhibit that Pac-Man enzyme from eating up and oxidizing your precious neurotransmitters. And some are like really potent and irreversible, which has side effects and challenges with diet interactions. And some, reversibly act on your brain. But for the good part of what kind of the public is aware of, they are a class of synthetic pharmaceuticals. There are other compounds in the world, like one half of the ayahuasca combination, which is a MAO-B inhibitor, or things like kava, which is a MAO-B, maybe A inhibitor. But what we think we've landed on is the world's first plant food MAO inhibitor with these very similar like effects that are well documented in, from these synthetic compounds, but we've found the first natural, safe and reversible compound to have this pharma-like mechanism. So we did some work with Callaghan Innovation and did some guided fractionation to really research what was this neurotransmitter effect that these blackcurrants were having. And we found that this molecule called saramintocin was the thing responsible for that. And we've been fortunate enough to be the first to discover that unique effect and have now got the patent for the use of saramintocin as this novel MAO inhibitor. But in layman's terms, what that all means is this molecule can help prevent the breakdown of your neurotransmitters over the time course of up to 8 hours, which means that you get higher amounts of, say, dopamine, serotonin, and noradrenaline. And so when you have higher amounts of neurotransmitters responsible for mood and motivation, you will feel better and, in theory, be able to perform better cognitively. Now, we're still very early in the research of isolating and proving this molecule, but we have done 2 human studies in it so far. We've published the first one with Planet Food Research, and we are showing that this compound is genuinely a MAO inhibitor, and the more you give to people, the more they can feel the effects, and the effects are comparable to how you feel like with caffeine but without the jitters, or we've just completed our own internal trial on it, and we're getting signals of just genuinely improved mood, and these effects are seen within an hour of consumption, and a holding from a statistical significance perspective for even at day 14 of consuming it daily. They still feel better versus placebo.
And this new compound, the MAO, is not
MAO inhibitor.
MAO inhibitor, sorry. It's not out and about now. Like, it's not productized. It's in the research and development stage.
Yeah, so it's in our performance drink and our powders.
Right, so it's in there already.
And naturally occurring amounts from our selected blackcurrants that we use. So, like Manuka honey, and there's high UMF factor honey and then low UMF factor honey. We think we've found that with blackcurrants, but it's like a high neurofactor blackcurrant. That's why we call them neuroberry, and that's because they have a high amount of this molecule in them called saramintocin. So, but we realized that people who need, acute mood support or attention support or neurological support to protect their neurotransmitters, they might not necessarily want to consume a full 300 ml version of our, full flavoured blackcurrant. Not everyone likes blackcurrant, which we've become aware of. It's still delicious, but to have a $7 drink every day, it starts to become expensive.
That's what I was going to say. Like, the frequency, like, if you want a good effect, if you want to have an amazing brain, $7 a day. How does that work? What have you come across, like, in terms of your product thinking and then the user experience? Yep. And what do people tell you?
So the first product we made after the drink was a month supply of powder, a freeze-dried powder form, because the biggest feedback we got, we love this, we want to have it daily, but can we get it for $2 a day instead of $7 a day? So we looked at what was the most cost-effective solution that we could make and how could we commercialize that, and that became a smoothie superfood powder, really. But to get the, let's call it, really efficacious hit of this MAO inhibitor, you need anywhere from 15 grams to 36 grams of blackcurrant concentrate or freeze-dried blackcurrant powder. And that's quite a high dose. And so you can't fit that into a capsule. And when you go to look at standard blackcurrant extract, this molecule is actually missed in typical blackcurrant extraction methods. It gets tipped down the waste stream. So we were fortunate to land a government grant with the Bioresource Processing Alliance, and we've helped to map out where saramintocin is coming out in the waste stream of blackcurrant extract processing facilities. And we've identified multiple waste streams where it's kind of getting tipped out with the sugar.
Oh, nice.
So we've now developed our own process to take blackcurrants and turn it into 3 valuable streams. One's the colour that make it's red colour. They're called anthocyanins. They're a polyphenol. their research is helps with kind of cerebral blood flow mechanism, and that helps to, it's like an antioxidant that helps with kind of just brain function and body function. And then we have our new streams, which we've created, which is this extract, which has this neurotransmitter modulator effect. And then we're also managing to put that neurotransmitter molecule into some of the sugar elements in the blackcurrant to create kind of a neurosweetener. So in the next year, we'll commercialize most likely 2 first to market ingredients that have this molecule in it. One is, within a 90 milligram dose, so you can put it into a capsule or gummies or, nutraceutical type formats.
But currently you've got powder.
Currently we've got whole food powder.
Whole food powder, yeah.
Yeah, so you need about 2 scoops of that to kind of hit the true level to get this like really good knock on your neurotransmitters, or a full bottle of our performance drink. So
I want to get into the kind of away from the formulation, but into the founder thinking. How are you thinking like an entrepreneur? Because you're an entrepreneur. I want to understand, what was the real proof at the start? Was it the customer, or was it the relationships that you had with your customers, or was it the retailers saying something amazing that made you go, oh, this is really going to be a hit?
The customer, first and foremost. So does the customer like it? Can they feel the effects? Are they willing to pay X for the product? And those were, we started small. So
yeah, did you you made a little bit of a product?
We were, we started off making 80 litres worth and selling that into, 4 Farrow stores, and then would go, oh, it's sold out. Shit, we need to make more. And then would go back the next week and make another 80 litres. And then suddenly it was 500 litres, and then it was 1,000 litres. And, 4 years later, it was 100,000 litres.
Right.
But starting small and growing organically, I think, kept our finger on the pulse of whether this was working or not. And we took care in onboarding new accounts. So every time we went into more stores, we made sure we did sampling in those stores. We made sure we created awareness for the local consumers in those stores so that they knew that this new thing, because we're a whole new product. We're just like we're making another juice or energy drink. We're kind of making this brain drink that stands out, but doesn't stand out because you're staring at this big wall of energy drinks. So we had to create a lot of awareness, and so we were pretty active on PR and marketing, and we were leveraging our unique science that we were publishing as cool news to get out into press that would help with creating awareness and telling the story about what we're doing. But our challenge that we found and came up against was that even if we published our own research on the product, we can't talk about any of those findings because they are implied health claims on the product. So even like,
can you give me an example?
Well, so we've done on the drink itself. We've done the 2 best studies were, one was in athletes and 1 a day for 7 days versus placebo, and 23 healthy kind of sub-elite athletes resulted in a kind of a 7-fold increase in accuracy under fatigue and a 20% improvement in cognition. And we published those results, and they're peer-reviewed, published, randomized, placebo-controlled, gold standard setting for a science study. And we, on our website, we can't have any of those findings that were statistically significant. We can't talk about any of those findings.
Why not? Because
that's classed as a health claim, and so the regulator will say that's a health claim, and then a competitor will say they can't do that, and then.
So, for example, you've tested it with 23 people over 7 days.
Yep.
And what was one of the good results for one of those people, or the result?
So the statistically significant findings out of those 23 people was that on average, the ones on our product versus the taste match placebo had a significant improvement in their accuracy under physical fatigue. And it was done through the Stroop test, which is a well-defined test. But being in a food category, you can't talk about those benefits because that's breaching the food code.
Right.
And so you need to the gold way to do that is to repeat that exact study again, and maybe even again, to definitively show that you do it, and then you file all that data into a dossier and then say, we believe our product supports attention under fatigue. But our mistake was that we were doing different studies every time in different cohorts. So we tested athletes, and then we tested females, and then we tested baby boomers.
Right. What did you need to do? You needed to do just athletes over and over?
Or just normal healthy adults with a mixed blend of sex.
Right.
And so the next study that we did on the drink was in an all-female cohort, 38 healthy females, and one a day for 4 weeks resulted in a significant improvement in mood and a significant improvement in working memory. So that was really cool, but mood and working memory in females, and then mental performance in athletes, it's not quite layering up. It's not repeating,
Yeah.
But what was repeating every time when we tested this MAO effect was that there's something in this blackcurrant every single time is stopping your neurotransmitters from breaking down, and it is working every single time. So we were like, what is that? Let's look into that. And so now we're commercializing the thing that we've found that does that, kind of works every single time. And we think that we'll have a regulatory approved health claim on that in time once we've done, our second large definitive study.
Right. And so what do you think you got right early that most founders would get wrong?
I think a defensible product with IP. I've seen a lot of supplements, consumer brands, beverages, food products come to market with a big hiss and a roar, gain some notoriety, and then you just see the big multinationals be fast followers on that type of trend and, eventually win the supermarket game because they've got the manufacturing scale, they've got the marketing scale, they've got the distribution and the relationships, and these artisanal soda makers, honey guys or whoever are just, trying to win on brand and taste and marketing. And as a small company versus a global, it's so hard to win on marketing unless you've got a really, really good performing founder marketing team that do a really amazing job at PR and marketing. And there's art in that, and I think that's underlooked a lot for people who want to be successful in these types of spaces, but it's becoming more and more complex, more and more competitive.
If someone wants to have a good PR team, what do they need to, what are some of the lessons that you've learned, especially that if I would say, what did you get wrong in the PR space? Because I have a feeling that the little blip that happened 2 years ago was due to that. You guys did.
Yeah,
from what I know, you didn't do really anything wrong, but it was just...
No, we were running too fast, and we just didn't have legal approve all of our advertising. We should have had legal look at the details of the food code and approve some of the claims that we were making. Because if we had that step in our process, we would have realised, we actually really can't say that. We were running pretty quickly, and we were looking at,
So you guys did have a claim that wasn't substantiated, but because you kind of didn't read the fine writing. Is that true or no?
We had we were making claims that were unsubstantiated in the view of the Australia-New Zealand Food Code. So we were making them based on the scientific substantiation of multiple peer-reviewed published studies on this ingredient, L-theanine, which is what we got in trouble for. And now we have spent the last 2 years putting all that substantiation together in this dossier to then have it formally reviewed so that we can get clearance to say what we want to say about it. Whereas if for a dietary supplement, you can just essentially talk about the science based on what's published and your evidence to date, and as long as you're saying supports X, Y, Z, then you're reasonably safe to trade. And then when you look at the global market, you've got one end of the spectrum, the US, where you can pretty much say anything and it's the Wild West. And then you've got another market like, say, New Zealand or Europe that's really, really high bar. And it's really hard to get these health claims over the line. So Zespri, for example, it took them 8 years to get a single health claim approved in the EU for kiwi fruit. And that's a multi-billion-dollar company with a really effective fruit that's really good for digestion. So we were trying to bite off more than I think we could chew being in the food format. But with this ingredient, we believe there's a dietary supplement nutraceutical opportunity. And so we can elevate our format into a platform that allows for us to communicate our science more clearly.
Do you think you've gotten over that as a founder? The blip that happened?
We're past it. When the blip was happening, we had got the patent on the molecule. We're about to publish the first study for it. We're about to publish our second study in females on the drink. We just had to manage the storm and deal with the drop off of those kind of random first time customers or new inquiring customers who had seen that negative press, and just box on and know that we've still got something that works. And I guess to answer your question, the things that we got right, we're certainly creating IP and a moat of intellectual property around the product, because I don't think we'd be here today if we didn't, because there'd be copycats using our formula.
And are people out there trying to copy you?
Yep. So we've successfully defended our patent twice in New Zealand. And do you know about them? How do you know someone is trying to copy you? Do you just have to keep an eye on it? Yeah, we see it on the market, and New Zealand's a small place. If there's a drink that looks like you, we'll know pretty quickly.
And okay, right.
Yeah. And that's why we have IP lawyers. So we got like the IP and science right, but what we didn't get right at that time was that we were scaling too fast and probably being a bit true to the science, but just bullish on marketing and not really caring too deeply about the food regulatory framework. And now we've realized it's actually a superpower if you can get it really, really right. And if you can get a regulatory approved claim, you have a defensible, unique proposition in the food space. So that's why we've invested the last 2 years in getting one of these health claims done. But yeah, my advice to founders would be, if you are going into selling food products and supplement products, like, not only understand your science, but understand the regulatory framework and your compliance and risk profile, risk to consumers, risk to, is the thing that you're making safe? What can you say about it? Are you allowed to say that? And so we learned the hard way and got a bit of a public slap around the wrist for it. But if it doesn't kill you, it makes you stronger. And I think we're a lot stronger now and in a pretty good position.
What has been the cost for you with that little mistake?
Probably about.
You talked about the $2 million loss in revenue, but what about the reputation and the goodwill and?
We had a pretty loyal.
And also, how do you get over that? How do you damage control if someone is going through that right now?
Yeah, you double down on stuff that makes you credible. So
what did you guys do?
Well, we published, I think, like 2 or 3 studies. We filed the health claim. So we did our homework, and then we went back to market with a new marketing campaign to say that we're infused with berries and informed by studies, and we're still the only drink that's got scientific research behind it, and we're backed by multiple clinical studies. But see, I'm not really making any health claims there. I'm just saying other things that are not health claims that we can talk about. And we had really good governance help us through that time. And I think you just got to, as long as you can see past it and see what you're going to do to get through it, and that makes sense, then, And we went back out and exhibited at the food show and started getting back on the coalface. And it's more in the mind of yourself and maybe journalists, but in mass New Zealand, they kind of, you guys, something happened to you guys a couple of years ago, but more importantly, I love this new, this gut powder that you're doing, or this molecule sounds interesting. So, you just got to pump out new news, really.
Yeah, that's right.
if we can publish more research and find more discoveries and,
Yeah.
and create more,
Yeah.
amazing consumer experiences, then those things are going to outweigh in the long term.
What was a hard phone call that you had to make during that kerfuffle?
Having to explain the very nuanced situation to shareholders. So that was a challenge, but we got there in the end, and they believed us and backed us and supported us. Probably not phone call, but like just challenging situation of watching yourself on TV get,
Bashed.
smeared, and then your wife and your son are there looking at you on TV, and your son's going, "Hey, Dad's on TV," and you're like, "Not for the right reason right now, buddy." So that was tricky, and then because that peak happened just as this kind of economic recession started to kick in, so we had the economic headwinds facing us as well, and having to do our first ever restructure, which a lot of companies are doing to survive these days. That was really tough because we had to let go, parts of our family, say, sorry, we can't afford to keep you on. We need to keep this business alive, and we need to keep putting money into this this molecule and the science that we've got that's nearly ready. So yeah, probably the toughest would have been laying off staff that I wish we hadn't, but we needed to get through into this new world.
And how many did you have on your team?
So at our peak we were 23, and now we're like a lean team of 7. Let's call it.
So it's almost like a test. The product that you're trying to promote, well, the product that you're promoting and you're working so hard on is helping people have a good functional brain under pressure. So you must have had a real pressure. You felt a lot of pressure, and even in the good days, you'll feel a lot of pressure as an entrepreneur. I suppose you were drinking your own drink, right? You were consuming your own products. But when you are under pressure, what are some of the lessons that you are learning right now that you would teach someone if they were to start your journey?
And in terms of like how am I handling pressure, or
how do you handle pressure, or
Yep.
Maybe the negative emotions that comes with that, or the stress, or the loss, the monetary loss? Maybe how do you cope with it besides having to consume something that will help you calm down?
Yep. I think for me, it's kind of looking at, there's the now and then there's the future, and what's controllable and what's uncontrollable. And the things that are uncontrollable, you almost need to just let go. And the things that are controllable, just focus on making sure that you can execute and deliver on those things. So for us, we had some control of, we are going to publish new research, we are going to commercialize this new breakout molecule, and it looks as though people are still buying the drink. So we haven't fallen off the face of a cliff. So those things helped me to either just block out or focus in on. And then I think, for a brain to work better, it's not just nutrition, it's sleep, it's exercise, it's mindfulness. And so I just really, and it's, staying away from alcohol and other things that can give your mind extra stress. And so I just went hard on things that are good for me, like running and breath work and going to bed early and drinking my own product, and just paused more on, going out too late and having too many drinks, for example. And at that point in time, I had a family, young family that was growing, and, you get really, you think there's big problems in the day, and then you pick your kids up from daycare and they're just so stoked to see you, and then suddenly, the moment in the world is just with them, and you go, everything else doesn't even matter anymore. So having kids was actually quite a good blessing during these times, because they brought you back down to earth, and on your saddest day they'd do something pretty cute or something annoying but still pretty cute. And so, and like
I agree.
My parents always would say never give up, and so we've just never given up either.
It's almost there like the antidepressants, children, to some extent. They
children,
really make you happy.
Yeah, yep. Yep.
Even when they're naughty.
Even when they don't sleep.
Yeah.
Yep.
I'm just going to pause here and see how I can end the chat. I want to know actually how many. I don't know if you can tell me this before we let this roll. In terms of just like where you're at right now with the brand, like maybe revenue, sales, where you're at. Because I think you are you in the US?
No, we're in an accelerator in the US, a food tech accelerator.
Right.
But that is to be the beachhead for our future ingredient business. We've danced around the idea of exporting our products from New Zealand to the US, but with Trump and tariffs and just looking to. There's still room to grow in New Zealand, you know.
Yeah. Okay. So
and we're getting some interesting exports into places like South Korea, and
yeah,
market selection is like really tricky once you go beyond Australia and New Zealand to find the right market that fits the product and the consumer and the price and the regulatory framework is no easy feat, and we've just been quite patient on where we invest in next. But likely North America and then Asia will probably be our two big focus markets.
Yeah. So what do you hope for the next 5 years to look like for you?
The next 5 years would be to commercialize and realize our new ingredient platform business and become a unique ingredient on the world stage for supporting neurotransmitter activity through a plant. And we want to continue to grow revenue year on year. We want our New Zealand consumer products business to be break even and profitable. And we want this this ingredient business to kind of spearhead our internationalization. And then hopefully we can funnel our consumer products into more markets once our ingredient business is starting to hit those particular markets as well. So more revenue growth year on year, more profit, and then more science. We've got a lot of work to do in the next year to prove out the safety and the evidence of this molecule, saramintocin, and then be ready enough from a manufacturing process, safety process, a human behavioural evidence process to be fit enough to start to sell this ingredient to the big nutraceutical and supplement companies out there.
Awesome. Thank you for delete awesome, please. Good to have you, Angus, and it's been great to understand more about what does it take to build a global, if I may say, global drink. But it's not just a drink, it's actually, there's so much that's going underneath that, the ambition and the hard work and the losses and the gains and the lessons. So there's a lot of heart and soul into what you do, and I hope that you succeed and
Thank you.
Win and do well. And all the best to you.
Thanks very much.